It's Michelle again at Hesketh Emporium, and today I wanted to show you a different way to make a scrunchie. So if you've been on my YouTube channel or one of my blogs in the past, you'll have seen that during COVID we made thousands of scrunchies, but with buttons on them so that you could wear them and hook your mask over the buttons so it didn't damage or hurt your ears. And today I'm going to show you a different method of doing exactly the same thing. There's a little example of one for you. I started out with these quite wide. Now, I can tell you now already, these are way too wide and they don't work that well when they're too wide, because they don't give you enough fluff or enough gathering. So what I did was I cut them down especially for youngsters or smaller children. I cut that into half. Let me get a better piece than that one. I cut it half that width, and now I haven't got my measuring tape with me. Can you believe it? What not organized very well, am I? I'm going to grab it quickly. Here we go. I've got a little measuring device for us. And just as an example, this is 8 centimeters, 8.5 centimeters, but you could make it 9 or 10 centimeters wide. And in my experience, they can be any length you want over 50 centimeters. Now, these ones are a 1/2 meter or 50 centimeters. And you can see how much gathering you've got on here. So that'll give you an idea of how much 50 centimeters gathers. And if you want it longer, then you're going to get a lot more gathering and it'll be a lot more full. So it's your preference. Once you've cut it out, for example, 50 centimeters by 8.5, 9 centimeters, let's say, you are going to fold it in half, right sides together. You are going to sew it into a tube. So let's get this little machine going. Now, it's better if you back tack at the beginning and at the end, because then it doesn't come undone during the process of making these. So I've now sewn across there. I've now got a tube. Okay. If you want to be well prepared for this, then you need elastic as well. You can make this with pre-made elastic bands that you buy from the shop or wherever you buy your elastics from. Or, like me, you can just use elastic that you've got around the house. I cut just this normal, is it a 6-strand elastic? Anyway, it's probably 5 millimeters. Yeah, it's 5 millimeters wide. This one can be a bit thicker, but it mustn't be too thick. If you're getting towards 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters, I think it's becoming much more difficult to wind the scrunchie around your hair really well. So 1/2 centimeter is absolutely adequate. And these are 20 centimeters long. Okay, 20 centimeters long. And I take that elastic and I do a knot into it. And I try and get it reasonably near the end so that I'm not losing too much of my elastic in the knot. So that's fine. So I've now got an elastic which is approximately 8 to 9 centimeters across. And I find that's a good one because you can wrap it around your hair twice if it's really thick, and if it's thinner, then you could wrap it around 3 times. But that'll depend on the fullness of your fabric, how much your length is. So what we're going to do next, we've got that ready. We've got our piece ready. Don't turn it over or anything like that. You're simply going to fold it in half, one layer. So I've taken one layer, okay, and I've folded the 1/2 up and joined the 2 edges. So my other part of my scrunchie is just down here. The fabric is here. So I've got that. Then I roll it towards itself in half again. What you're basically doing is making a burrito, the same as you do if you're doing a men's shirt or things like that, where you tuck some fabric away and then you roll the other fabric over. The reason I've rolled it like this is to get it out of the way so you don't stitch it. That's the big thing. So once you've done that, it doesn't matter where you put it on top of your fabric. So you've got a fold up and another fold. I just find it easier to roll it downwards. Now I can see the right side of the bottom layer of fabric. I can grab my elastic and I'm going to put that in here. And I'm going to roll this up over the elastic, and I've sandwiched half of this inside. And I hope you can see that. I'm going to try and do it upright like this. So I've folded this up towards itself, wrong sides together, only one layer. Then I've rolled it downwards to get less bulk. I want 1 centimeter here to sew. I then roll this upwards like that to create a little bundle inside my tube. But you need to put your elastic in as well. So what I tend to do is put the elastic in first before I pull this layer up. Pull this layer up, touch the two edges, and my elastic has now got a loop inside and a loop outside. So you can see it's now around like that, okay? And then I fold this down out of the way. What you don't want to do is sew over your elastic and the fabric that's inside here. I probably need to move my camera because my hand seems to be in the way all the time where I've positioned it. So let me just get this under the presser foot and see if we can do something better with this camera placement. Sorry about making you all seasick. I've also got to place it so that the table doesn't vibrate and create a wobble. Right, I've got my 2 layers with my sandwich in between. I've got half of my elastic tucked into there and the other half on the outside. Now, whether you have this elastic on your left or on the right-hand side of your presser foot doesn't really matter. We are simply going to start off and we're going to do a bit of a back tack. I think I have knotted my thread. Yes, I have. Oh, what a great start. Let's undo this and try again. This little machine is a little bit awkward to do a back tack on because you have to turn a dial from the stitch length, on the stitch length dial, and that actually goes anti-clockwise to create a back tack. Just your machine probably won't be as bad as that. Now, what you want to do is you want to just keep pushing the elastic and that little bundle of fabric you rolled up out of your way. And then you want to continue to stitch. Use your fingers as a guide. You'll know if something's in the way. Now what we're doing is we're taking this inside layer of fabric that's bundled and we're going to give it a pull. Okay, we're extending it. And at the same time, we then pull the elastic towards us as well. Now the elastic's there, the little burrito or the filling is there, and now I've got that section. So I know this section here has no danger of me riding over or sewing over the elastic and the thread. So I pull my elastic and I pull the inside towards me. I roll it back in out of the way, so I've only got my 2 layers, and I keep sewing. And I repeat that constantly. Just pull towards the back as it starts to gather. So pull it out of your way, it'll make it easier. Rebunch up this little bit and pull your elastic towards you out of the way. Get that piece of the scrunchie out of the way. And repeat. The whole time I'm actually getting this fabric and this elastic out of the way, and I'm feeling with my fingers to make sure I don't ride and stitch over that. Now this here, you can see my seam is slightly splitting apart, and that is purely because I didn't back tack properly. So get my elastic in there nicely again. And stitch, feel with your fingers, make sure you're not going over the elastic or your other layers. Okay. You'll find a way of doing this that suits you. Just keep pulling. Basically, you're pulling one side out through the other side. It's a bit like turning your tubes when you're making a tube. And the biggest thing is to constantly feel where your elastic and your other layer of fabric is so that you don't stitch over it. So pull this towards you. Gets a little bit tighter as you go along because the elastic is much smaller. And this is a lot more difficult the longer your length of fabric is. So the more gathering you want, the more it's going to bunch. And it can be a little bit more difficult to pull, but it's absolutely 100% doable. So I've got near the end now. Now don't forget, we need a hole to turn this the right way around. So you do not want to try and get all the way. So I'm here back at the beginning again. I want to leave a few centimeters gap. So now I'm going to stop. I'm going to reverse a little bit. And I'm going to take it off the machine. Clip my threads. All right. I've got a little gap over here. And you can see inside there is my layer. And here's my elastic. So now we grab through the hole, we grab the right side of the fabric and the tube, and we start to pull it through until, so when it bunches up like this, it can be a little bit stiff, but it gets easier as you pull it through. So pull through, and eventually it'll come through the hole you left. And miraculously, that elastic, which was on the outside, is now going to be on the inside. This one, because I've got you on camera, is a little bit more problematic to pull. But there you go. I've pulled it through, and we now have a scrunchie, which is all on right side out. Okay, basic scrunchie, done. Now the hole that you have, we want to close it up. And to do that, I simply stretch it out. There's the fold, there's my seam line tucked in there. I want to tuck it in really nicely. And I tuck in my two ends where the hole was. And I'm going to start 1 centimeter or so from the hole. And I'm going to do a round of stitches all the way around the scrunchie. You don't, this is an optional step, by the way. I like the scrunchies with the additional stitching around the edge. I think they look really nice. Keeps them lovely and flat, but it's an optional step. And if you're going to be closing up the hole, I just feel, you know what? Why not just close up the hole and do edge stitching, top stitching all the way around? The big thing is, while you're top stitching, to make sure your seam is rolled nice and flat. If you want to, go and iron it so that your seam is absolutely flat and even all the way around. So we're going to just keep going all the way around the perimeter. As I said, this is optional. Now let's see this little machine get over this hump here. It's going to need a little bit of a hand. So This is the thing with tiny little machines, is they do need a bit more careful handling when it comes to chunky seams. But for the convenience of being able to carry it and just do basic dressmaking and stuff, it's definitely worth it, because all you're getting on this machine is zigzag and straight stitch. Does a buttonhole. I've never tried it, but yes, you can do a buttonhole one. Keep going. We're nearly back at the beginning again, and before I get to the start point, I'll stop and clip off my threads. Okay, clipped off, and I'm going to ride directly over the starting stitches so that they stay in place and don't go back and then forward, and we are done. Now, if I'd put a label in, I would have done that already when I did the side seam, the first seam. I would have put my label in there. And there you have it, a completed scrunchie. Very nice color design too. So there's that one, and there's this little one. You can see here's a tag with Hesketh Emporium on it, and that was when I did the first side seam. I will have tucked it into the seam on the inside, and you have got a scrunchie. Nice and easy. This is just a different method to the other method, and it's worth trying both and seeing which one you prefer. So thank you for watching, and I hope you found this tutorial useful and my camera work hasn't made you too ill. Have a wonderful day, everybody. God bless. Bye.